Hey, some of you might know that I've got a jigsaw in my office because it was sort of the backdrop to some of the early, it hasn't come out very clear, is it? It's brighter than that. Anyway, it's a jigsaw, it's a 4,000 piece jigsaw that's in my office, and it was on the back of some of my sermons in the early days of COVID when we started filming and had to figure out how to do things. So I've recently completed another jigsaw, which is on the other wall of my office, and it is, hasn't come out very bright either, must have had too much light on. It's a 6,000 piece jigsaw of the world. So I like jigsaws. I bought these specifically for my office, so there's a reason why they're there. That one took a while. Yeah, it was quite tricky. So I now know my geography perfectly. So yeah. Hey, here's a question for you. Have you ever done a jigsaw and you've got to the end of the jigsaw and you've had a spare piece left over? You have? Well, that is unusual. It's possible if you've muddled up two boxes and you have a spare piece left over. That is possible, but normally you don't have a spare piece left over. More likely you've done a jigsaw and you've got to the end of it and you're missing a piece. Who's done that? Yeah. And if you're doing one that's 6,000 pieces, then that is a big worry. Because it's so easy. The piece can get caught up in your sleeve or on the floor, or the dog eats it, or whatever. And if you've spent all the time to do a 6,000 piece jigsaw, you do not want to get to the end and have a missing piece. That is seriously not good. Did you know that in the church you can never have a spare piece? You can never have a spare piece in the church. God says we're all like pieces that he's fitting together. Now, the Bible doesn't use jigsaws to make the point, but if jigsaws were around in Bible times, then Paul might have used jigsaws. But he says we're like a building that's being fitted together. He says these words in Ephesians from the Message. Christ brought us together through his death on the cross. That is why we're here today. We're here together because Christ has brought us together from all different backgrounds and countries. I just met someone that came in today. It's just arrived in New Zealand. But what's brought us together is the fact of Jesus and his death on the cross. That's why we're here. That's what we have in common. It says, Paul goes on, he says, this kingdom of faith is now your home country. You're no longer strangers or outsiders. You belong here with as much right to the name Christian as anyone. God is building a home. He's using us all, irrespective of how we got here. Doesn't matter what's in your past. Doesn't matter for what reason you're here. It's irrelevant in what he is building. He used the apostles and prophets for the foundation. Now he's using you, fitting you in brick by brick, stone by stone, or maybe if he's using jigsaws, piece by piece, with Jesus Christ as the cornerstone that holds all the parts together. We see it taking shape day after day. A holy temple built by God, all of us built into it, a temple in which God is quite at home. Now, God does not live in a building. God does not live in this building. He lives in us. God lives in us. And through each of us, a little bit of God shines. But when we come together, we see more of God, because none of us perfectly reflect God. When we come together, we see a little bit more of what God is like. When we come together with other churches that are different, that are loud or quiet or whatever, we see even more of what God is like. But you cannot be a spare piece in the church. You're a part of God's church that he is fitting together, and every single person, young, old, has a place and a purpose in the church. You cannot be a spare piece in the church. You might think, well, no one's going to miss me. I'm not important. I've got nothing to contribute around here. Let me be very clear. That is actually a lie. And the reason I can say it's a lie is because the Bible says it is. You can't be a spare piece in the church, but you can be a missing piece. You can be a missing piece. Let's think about the missing piece for a minute. Let's say you do your jigsaw and you've got a missing piece. Well, that missing piece is somewhere. Hopefully not in the dog's stomach, but that missing piece is somewhere. It still exists somewhere. It's just you can't find it. It's not in the place that it should be. It still exists. That's like a person who is part of the church but not actually involved in any way. See, if you're a Christian, you are part of the church. You cannot be a Christian and not part of the church, because the church is made up of every person that has committed their life to following Jesus. You're a son and daughter of God, and so you are in the church. But if you never go to a church service and you never fellowship with other Christians, and if you never serve others with your gifts, then you're like a missing piece of the jigsaw. You exist, but you're not in the right place. So every year at Celebrate, for the last quite a few years, we've given out what we call Gummy Awards. All right, and remember the Gummy Awards? Yeah, the Gummy Awards. Now, they're called gummies because you get awarded a fairly ugly-looking gumboot that I had great trouble finding in November 7 years ago, because they don't sell gumboots. Cheap ones anyway, 7 years ago. And it's a bit of a takeoff of the Oscars. We don't take it too seriously, but it was a way that we could acknowledge and recognise people who had served in some way, particularly around our 5 priorities of cultivating authentic faith, of building a great community, of being intentionally intergenerational, developing missional capacity. That was very clever, who put the lights on, and serving the city. And so we acknowledged, and so we have 5 gumboots. This year, we decided that everybody would get a Gummy Award. You excited about that? Yeah. Yes, everyone gets a Gummy Award. But we don't want to give out 200 gumboots, because that wouldn't be silly. That would be silly. So we're going to give you a Gummy Bear. A Gummy Bear instead, okay? And there's a reason why we're recognising everyone. And so we're going to hand these out now. You can eat your Gummy Bear, you can frame it and put it on the mantelpiece. You can do whatever with your Gummy Bear. Why are we recognising everyone this year? Well, one of the reasons is that so many people made the hub, a new facility out there, a reality. Over $250,000 was raised from this church. This is a stab, but my stab is that over 1,600 volunteer hours of labour went into that, which is the equivalent of 40 full-time weeks of work. So many of you took part and served the city. 200 from this church of all ages. 500 hours of community work. We have those who are in the music team and the sound and video and tech team. There's 24 people in the music team. There's another 11 in the tech team. There's 5 worship leaders. There's about 12 in our wood trucks team that has given out this year 37 trail loads of free wood to those families in need. There are 20 on the Grace Meals roster who have cooked 47 meals this year for families. There's 24 people that serve in our ministry, children's ministry team. There's 22 that serve in our youth ministry team. There's 38 that serve in our host team. There's 18 that serve on our cleaning teams. There's only one that serves in the library. That's Janet. There's those who count the money. There's 6 people that help count the money every week. There are those that serve with Busy Bees. There are 7 leaders there. There's those who are on the GAT team. There's about 5 on the GAT team. There's 127 of you in home groups. There's 122 that give regularly. There's another 8 on the building and maintenance team. So that's, and hopefully we haven't missed out any, but there are so many of you that serve and contribute in so many ways. And actually, do you know that just turning up to a church service is actually a blessing? You might not think it, but you being here, and I know that sometimes it's really hard to be here when life is tough, is important. Your presence here makes a difference. Because when you're here, someone will think, actually, that person looks like me. That person seems a bit awkward. That person's a bit shy. That person's a bit down. That person's my nationality. That person is my stage of life. That person is my age. There are people in the church like me, and so I'm not alone. So actually just attending a church service is a blessing to others. And so that's why we're giving each of you a Gummy Award this year. Now, someone asked me if they're gluten-free. I've got no idea because I didn't buy them. Are they gluten-free? Probably not. So, no idea. They're not sugar-free anyway, because they're a gummy bear. So So that's why, from the oldest to the youngest, and we're giving everyone a gummy bear. James and Fiona will be pleased to know I'm not throwing gummy bears, because I've managed to maim 2 of their kids, which is why Fiona's an elder to stop me from doing that. But you know, Jesus said that one day, actually at the end of our lives, we're going to have to give an account for our lives, for the skills, the abilities, the gifts, the money, the resources that he's given us. And he's going to ask us how we've used our resources, what he's given us, for the kingdom. And so, in a sense, it's going to be like the Gummy Awards in heaven. I'm sure God won't call them the Gummy Awards, but actually it says that there will be a reward for those who have used their gifts faithfully. And that he will say to those who have used their gifts faithfully and served faithfully, well done, good and faithful servant. Now, I'm sure our reward will be much better than gummy bears. I don't know how God is going to reward us, but actually it says in the Bible that we will be rewarded for faithful service. Oh, thank you. I'll have a read one because it's my favourite. Thank you. I'm not sure I can eat and talk though at the same time. So these gummies are to say to all of you, well done, good and faithful servant. So you may eat your gummy now. You can hang on to it. Oh, they've all gone. All right, you've all eaten your gummy already. All right. So, well, as you ate your gummy, may you hear the words, well done, good and faithful servant. The team are going to come and lead us. Where's the team? The faithful team. They're going to come and lead us as we close in worship.